Hello, everyone. My name is Susan Jarboe, and this is another panel discussion sponsored by the Unity Church of El Cajon. With me today is Dr. Kristine Pass, who has recently written a very interesting book, and also Reverend Linda Burdett. Today's topic is letting go of the ego. And before I explain precisely what that means, let's begin with an opening prayer. Heavenly Parent, we come before you today in humility and faith. We thank you for all you have given us and the many blessings in our lives. We ask for your guidance and strength. Show us the way and fill us with courage and wisdom. Help us to remember your love and grace and to be faithful in our service to you. Give us the patience and understanding to face life's challenges with grace. We ask these things in your name. Amen. Those of you who are familiar with our panel discussions know that I am a big fan of Richard Rohr from the Center for Action and Contemplation. And today's reading is called Liberation from the Ego's Agenda. And Father Richard considers how Jesus calls us to be liberated from the agendas of our inflated egos. What was Jesus liberating us from? This probably won't seem too different from what we would now call the ego or the false self. As Jesus put it, those who find their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it. Matthew 10, verse 39. Buddhists tend to describe this process with much greater clarity, but Jesus didn't have access to psychological language. He just spoke in a straightforward way that his contemporaries could understand. Scholarship today is discovering a much more radical and demanding Jesus than either Catholicism or Protestantism was ever ready for. We distorted the message, so it wasn't primarily about a transformation of the ego, but freedom from the body self. We largely transferred everybody's guilt concerns toward the body. We concentrated on repressing and punishing the body, not giving the body too much pleasure, freedom, or delight. It's not that there aren't issues there, but the ego, in my opinion, has gotten away scot-free in the Western Church. We allowed egos to get out of control while being quite anxious to appear chaste, self-disciplined, and not too greedy. Christianity has largely paid little attention to the real things Jesus talked about. Instead, we tend to be preoccupied with things that Jesus never talked about. But who can reform Christianity except Jesus? Understanding Jesus's teachings on power is the key to reforming Christianity and other power structures. Jesus tells his followers that they should never have what we would call dominative power. He calls it lording over others. You know that the rules of the Gentiles lorded over them, but not so with you, he says, Matthew 20, verses 25 to 26. How did so many Christians come to believe that exercising power over others is what religion is all about? There's no indication that Jesus ever intended there to be a head church office somewhere with upper, middle, and lower management. As a priest, Rohr writes, I'm lower management, and even we expected the laity, the people in the pews, to be passive followers. This is so contrary to what Jesus taught and expected. He clearly gives power to people by giving them an inner authority. Liberation from the ego self is liberation from the world of forms and images. Jesus's word for that was mammon. You cannot serve God and mammon. That's Matthew 6, verse 24. If we're playing the game of appearance and power, prestige and possessions, Jesus says we cannot know God. That's pretty absolute. There's a correlation between our preoccupation with image and how much or how little we've experienced the inner life. Jesus also liberates us from the ego self by his constant warnings against negativity and oppositional thinking. In general, his word for that liberation is forgiveness. 2/3 of Jesus's teaching is directly or indirectly about forgiveness. To live oppositionally is to be holding some degree of resentment or unhealed negative energy that we have not brought to the divine presence for transformation. And now I'd like to hear from our panel. Who would like to comment first on what Rohr has said about liberation in the ego?
Thank you, Susan. I enjoyed your reading. Rohr's work is always so rich. In this one, I was really struck by the fact that so often the rules that we follow are more about the society we live within than they are about what came from deep within us, from our spirit. Rohr's take on this hierarchy in the church is it's wonderful because it brings us back to that inner and greater self. It really is the thing that liberates us. I really enjoyed this. I wish I had a great personal example to add to these thoughts. I don't, but I did enjoy it, and I appreciate you bringing it forward.
Thank
Reverend
you.
Linda.
Thank you, Susan, for this wonderful topic. And, I was taking notes as you were talking. There was so very much in there, but I believe my overall takeaway is that spirit is the main authority. And over and over again, when we're doing what appears to be right or what we want to be right, we can justify that and act on it. But when we pause and take it in and hold it, usually what is spiritually right will come through. I also really enjoyed talking or listening to you talk about how Jesus changed everything when he changed the shift of power and gave authority to those who speak from spirit and in his name. I was recently involved in a wonderful conversation actually with Dr. Kristine about this very thing, talking about leading classes and running groups. And when we do that, we assume authority, that we're now in charge, we're the leader, even though ego-wise that might seem to be a little over the top. Who am I to have authority, and who am I to say this is the way that it is? But there are situations where we walk into and we take a breath and tune into the divine and then speak from authority even though people may not agree with us or understand what we're saying in that moment, we're doing exactly what Jesus was teaching us to do. Loved this reading, Susan. It was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing this wisdom with us.
Thank you, Reverend Linda, for your comments. Yes, Richard Rohr is fairly deep, and there can be a lot of different things to think about in his messages. And one of the things that I think is particularly important is when we look at the history of the church, he reminds us that so much of it was focused on the physical body and the sins of the body. And he is saying that that is not a priority. Thank you, listeners, for paying attention to this video. And thank you, panelists, for all of your comments. If you know someone who might be interested in this video, please pass the link on to them. And also, if you have reactions or comments to this video and this teaching, please let us know that. At the end of this video, there's information on how to contact us. And we would like to hear from you about topics or issues you might want to, and even better, if you would like to join us to talk about something, a topic or issue that is of interest to you, we would love to have you join us and participate in the panel, present a reading or commentary that you would like. You don't necessarily have to be on the panel forever. We're not asking for that level of commitment, although we'd love it if someone wanted to be with us. And so, thank you again, panel. Thank you again, observers. And please tune in again to see another one of our panel discussions. Bye.
Thank you for joining us, and let's stay connected and grow in spirit. We are on Facebook. Search for Unity Church of El Cajon and follow us and like our posts. You can reach us on YouTube at Unity Church of El Cajon. Please subscribe to our channel, watch our videos, and leave comments which can help us improve. We are on the web at unityofelcajon.org. Email or call our church office to receive our weekly newsletters, which lists all of our activities and opportunities to learn and grow together.